To quote Walt Davis, Walt made the statement, he said, I used to be a serial killer because I woke up every morning thinking of what I was going to kill today. He says, and if you ask the average farmer today, that's exactly the thought on his mind. What am I going to kill? That's a problem today. We have to worry about things. We have problems. But my goal is not to go figure out what I can kill today. Sounds like a hippie idea. The more life we can create, the better off we're going to be. The more living stuff we've got on the farm, the better off our farm is and the more resilient it's going to be. Most of my neighbors are my family. I mean, my brothers. We farm, work together, fight together, argue together. They're still pretty conventional. They, spend a lot of money killing stuff. We actually had some of the very first GMO soybeans that was ever grown outside a lab in North America was on our farm. That tells you how far back we went. And my brothers, they still use it all. We don't. There's a lot of life on our farm that wasn't there 15, 20 years ago. It was there 50 years ago. I don't like what I see coming. I don't like what it does, and I just decided I ain't gonna do it. I'm fourth generation, okay? 2 miles up the pavement from where I live was where my mother was born. And there's a story on that farm that the first settlers that came into there brought in a high wheel wagon load of lumber, unloaded it on the farm, left to go back and get the second load, come back, couldn't find the first load. The grass was so tall. All my life, I remember that pastures on my grandfather's place. We could play marbles in any of his pastures and never lose them. Grew up very much a conventional operation, got out of college in '84, started doing the managed grazing then, learning how. But the soil health thing, in all honesty, has totally about been in the last 10 years. You didn't hear that word before then. Nobody's talking about it. Like I remember when I was a kid and growing up, we talked about we wanted these soils to mellow out and work them down where they'll all be just nice and wonderful. Today I realize that we destroyed all the soil structure, and if it rained, the water ran off. Back then we were focusing on short rotations, keeping things very short and vegetative. Today we're into much longer rotations, keeping our plants taller, a lot healthier, much more diverse. I hate the fact that I have to unlearn so much, but I've had to unlearn a lot. Either in soils, animals. I had to admit, I wasn't right. There's a better way. Just about trying to do a better job. Looking around, seeing what's going on with soil erosion and things like that, realizing something's wrong. When we got some of the native grasses established, the first year that we got them established right, you went out there and looked like, oh my God, how much feed do I have here? And this is the first year, all it's gonna do is get better, and it did. We learned to graze standing grain sorghum to replace winter hay. You do that once, it's like, wow, why did I do it the other way? Well, I didn't know any different. Now I do. We try to feed hay over the course of a winter for about 30 days a winter. I used to feed hay 4 and 5 months. And just about anything we do is like, well, this happens. Like, oh, this happened. Oh, when you got 2 and 3 inch rains and it runs off everywhere else, but it just goes down in your place, I have water to work with now. We all talk about how much rain we get, but the number we need to talk about is how much did we keep? How much water goes in? How much goes through? How much runs off? We got a lot of crop farms around us. They have tile outlets coming out of those fields. They come out to the road. So you get a rain, you can ride around and just check and see how things are coming out of crop fields. What color it is. Go look to see if anything's coming out of your pastures, and there ain't nothing coming out of your pastures. And it's like, you look in the road ditches and you realize what could be elsewhere, and then you get it elsewhere, and then it's like, oh boy, wow. Your feet will tell you what you're walking on. It's like, this is a carpet. No, this is a field, but it feels like a carpet. You look down in the pasture, everything's moving. You look up and they're going this way and that way and that way, and it's like, oh, we farm in and amongst a whole lot of crop farms. It ain't there. This time of year we're coming into winter, the hawks hunt all of our pastures because there's nowhere else to hunt. The wildlife component was nothing that we went after. We went after production and feed to fill in holes. That just came with it. Quail is kind of an indicator species for us. We've got quail again. We haven't had them for 30 years. We're certified through the Audubon Society for their grassland bird friendly beef program. They gave you 3 years to qualify for everything and get the different components. And that was to be at a 75% compliance. We were at 80% compliance the first year. We didn't realize it, but we were doing everything they wanted done. Just we were doing it for other reasons. 4 years ago, they did an audit where they counted 70 species of birds. A year ago, they did it again. Counted 104. All I know is there's birds everywhere. Alan talks about the cascading and compounding effects, the fact that it works in both directions, beneficial and destructive. A lot of folks like to use fungicides and insecticides. They're cheap insurance. No, they're not, because now they have to use them. They've wiped out their beneficials. You kill the problems, but you killed all the beneficials. The problem ones come back faster than the beneficial ones. If you don't pay attention and don't monitor that stuff, you don't realize you're just stair-stepping down. There's a lot of farms, there's 3,000 to 4,000, 5,000 acre farmers around us. That's what they're farming. And most of them think they're pretty good size. What they don't realize, 6 out of 7 of them are going to disappear in the next 10 years. They don't think so, but they're gonna. You keep doing it that way, they will. When I got out of high school, there were certain people who were big farmers then. They're gone. Go about 15 years later, those were the big farmers. They're gone. You come on to the ones, the guys that think they're big farmers today, 15 years, they're gone. Most people in farming today are trying to be the biggest dog on the bottom rung of the value-added ladder. Instead of going up the ladder, they want to go sideways. They want to be big. It's like, guys, you're on the bottom. Please don't take this as a brag in any way, shape, or form. But I've told my daughter, I says, if I'm lucky, I'm going to die, and they will be able to put on my tombstone, nobody ever wrote a performance report on me. The older I get, the less I know. But it's really intriguing and exciting, because I look at it like this now. It's like, what the heck's it going to be like in 20 years? I really want to see this. That's our approach to it, is what can we do? And then, we're always borrowing ideas from people. I mean, I don't know I've had an original idea yet, but I borrow ideas instead of saying I steal them. Same effect. Like this conference, the cool part of it is, unlike the average agricultural conference, you don't hear everybody standing around whining about how bad prices are. These folks they're going somewhere and they're thinking. And I like that. In the regenerative world, big picture, long-term thinking, I really hope somehow or other that we can get this message across to some of these bright young people to be involved and show them how they can do what they want and not have to go the corporate security route for the big bucks and go toe the line, because they don't get to think, they don't get to challenge, they don't get to question, they don't get to innovate. That ability to innovate and make a difference that you can be proud of, I think we've got this in the regenerative ag movement big time. The big dollars are the other way, but there can be some very big dollars here, and they're your dollars. It's flat cool. We're after trying to create value and create quality, nutrient-dense food for people to eat. We got customers that means a lot to them. They're willing to pay for it, and it's kind of it's what we do, and that changes your focus from selling animals to somebody and they just disappear to you're selling meat to somebody and they eat it, and you get a different feedback. The last 10 years we started some of this direct marketing. It was greed for the reason we did it, because I figured out what an animal was worth if we sold him in pieces. And it's like, we got to try. Okay. And the nice part about that is that price stays the same. It gets you out of the market roller coasters. If I know what an animal is going to bring, I can work my way backwards and make that work. If I don't know what he's going to bring, then I'm out there wondering, am I going to be good or not? We spend a lot of our time educating our customers, but we spend a lot of time learning from our customers. Our customers know more about our business most days than we do. Occasionally you get what I'd call a stupid question, okay, but rarely. Oftentimes you get questions that I don't know the answer to, but the answer to that is, I'll find out. And then we go find out. You know, this is kind of like Tom Landry said about playing football. He says, as long as you learn something every time you get beat, pretty soon you don't get beat. And he didn't.